The
All
stream
right.
is live.
We are live.
Hello,
Welcome.
everybody.
After a week hiatus.
Hey, I've got an interesting problem.
And what is that?
I can't open Force Quit. You know how
Can't-
you hit Option Command Escape? Or
Yeah.
you go into the Apple logo and you choose Force Quit and it shows you a list of your running applications? No, it doesn't.
You
Even
can't
after a reboot.
And is that the only way to get to Force Quit?
The other thing you can do is go into Activity Monitor, select an application or process, and hit Force Quit. But no, I can't.
And
Can't
your
use the
Option
Force-
Command keys are working okay?
And you're supposed to be able to do it from the Apple logo. You go to Force Quit,
Oh, right.
nothing happens.
Have you
Even after
rebooted?
even after a reboot.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not good.
So it started. I think Dave Hamilton caused it because it started. I had Safari open, and I did something. I don't know. I closed a bunch of windows, and then I realized I wanted to see Safari, and I hit new window, and yes, I crocheted, John, and it didn't come up. Safari didn't come up. It stayed grayed out, and I was like, okay, let me force quit it. And I couldn't force quit it, so I used Activity Monitor and force quit it. And brought it back up, and same thing happened. It was just grayed out. So I rebooted, and Safari still wouldn't come up. And on the advice of Claude, it suggested that I quit every process that has anything to do with Safari and then open Safari by shift-clicking on it in the dock. And that actually worked. And that fixed Safari, but there's no application to fix Force Quit. So... It's likely due to a problem with the application, the keyboard, or even a deeper system issue. You could try using Activity Monitor. Yes. Yeah, start safe mode. Oh, great. And do what? Maybe I'll run like Onyx or something. Because, yeah, something's definitely weird. But when I went back and looked, when I went to delete every process that had to do with Safari after the reboot, one of them was MacGeekApp.com. That's why I think it's Dave's fault.
Just listening to it caused a problem.
Actually, I was just reading it. I wasn't even listening. I just buy a new Mac. Hey, I should probably do a roll call.
I think you
We
should.
have Kevin and Bruce and Bruce and Bruce and Frank and Mike and Ian and Jill and Lynn and John and Sutter and Ron and Sandy. But I don't see three Bruces.
Noble
Songster. Did he
Songster
leave
in
already?
the sidebar.
Ah, he's not in the chat. Okay. Hello, my name is Bruce. Nice. All right. Are we ready? Everybody got a chair? Everybody comfortable? Got a beverage of choice?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, August 10th, 2025, and this is show number 1057. Well, Steve and I had a glorious week off playing with Lindsay's family on Lake Charlevoix in Michigan. It had been a dream of mine to someday go back to where we sailed when I was a child. It was kind of a nice surprise that I recognized so much of the area after 53 years away. I mean, things had changed a little bit, but I still knew where things were. Now, I didn't work on the podcast one little bit while I was gone, which was also really nice. I still have some great content lined up for the show. We have an interview by Bodie Grimm, the second half of Pat's EV decision, and I've got a new automation story of my own. Save. It's yep. Save. There we go. Oh, I didn't scroll. Save. There it is. All right. We posting puppy photos tonight?
Puppy photos and bridges with cars running by all in the same direction. That may be AI.
All the lower Michigan people fleeing up north? Hey, so here's an ironic thing. There was a fire in the city where we live, and they sent out an alert saying 911 isn't working because of a fire. Isn't that kind of ironic? Did you know that, Steve? That's, by the way, that's why we smelled smoke this morning. I got an alert from the city.
Did they say where the fire was?
I assume it was near dispatch or something. I mean,
It
seems
hit
like
the
a,
911 dispatch office.
yeah, I was going to ask Bodie what the deal is with that. All right. Okay, here we go. Keeping going. Oh, I get to do, I know I don't normally do one this early, but I'm going to do one because it's a full-on chapter here. At MacStock this year, we had a brand new attendee who is also a first-time speaker at the conference. His name is Mike Burke, and as I explained in my MacStock coverage, he took a very big swing in his workshop. He had us download 4 apps and a plugin and taught us just enough to kind of whet our appetites for what he was doing. I know I went through this already, but in case you fell asleep and missed it, I'll repeat a little bit before I explain what I did with what he taught us. The grand finale of his talk was that he had us download a Keyboard Maestro macro and run it on our computers. He explained that the macro was there basically to give him an easy way to trigger a shell script he'd written. The shell script he wrote was designed to create a folder structure for, say, an upcoming conference, like MacStock. And creating that folder structure was giving him folders for registration paperwork, ones for session notes, and he even had to create boilerplate text documents for the session notes so that he had a structure for starting to take his notes. Before suggesting we download a script from a guy we just met, he showed us the text of the shell script and explained what it did. He's fully documented this on his website, themikeburke.com, and that's BURKE.com. Of course, there's a link in the show notes. Anyway, you can go there and you can look at his shell script from there. He described this method of creating his folders and digital assets before starting on a new project as being akin to the French cooking method mise en place, where you get all of your ingredients ready ahead of time. During Mike's presentation, when given the green light, I ran the macro and was delighted to see it did exactly what he said it would do. This concept of pre-creating folders has been kind of festering in the back of my mind ever since, waiting for a problem to present itself that this would solve. I was inspired by Mike's method and how well he explained everything, so I decided to have it a go myself. Now, I don't expect you to use exactly what I did or do exactly what I did any more than I used exactly what Mike did. Rather, I hope to inspire you to solve a problem you have with some of what I learned from studying Mike's process. All right, thank you. So this week, I'm supposed to be starting to learn a new app to teach for my next Screencast Online video, and I realized that I was just about to create the folder structure for the new project. This will be the same folder structure I created last time, and the time before that, and the time before that. Each time I set up these folders, they're nearly identical, but since I'm human, I often slightly am inconsistent from project to project, so that's a problem. You'd think the folder structure would be pretty simple, but it does have a smidge of nuance. In order to deliver my Screencast Online project to the boss, I have to have it in Dropbox. However, Telestream, the developers of ScreenFlow, the app we use to create and edit their tutorials, will pop up a scary warning if you try to create the video in a cloud service. They say the behavior could be unpredictable and result in loss or corruption of data. That's pretty close to the last thing I'd want to have happen, perhaps only just short of it making my computer explode. My solution to this conundrum is to create folders both on a dedicated Screencast Online volume on my Mac and another set in Dropbox. I record video into ScreenFlow on the Screencast Online volume. Every time I record and edit a segment, which could be as short as 2 to 3 minutes worth of recording, I save locally and then I drag the ScreenFlow document from the dedicated volume over to a Dropbox folder. In March of this year, I asked Hazel to watch that folder over on Dropbox, and whenever I drag in a new version of the file, it renames it by appending the date and time it was just saved. You may remember the post I did on it entitled, "Automation Gives Me All the Feels." I was really proud of that one. Anyway, when I deliver my project using Dropbox, I also have to include a folder called Assets, in which I'm to include a 1024 by 1024 show icon and any artwork I may have created for the tutorial. The two folders, one on the local volume and one in Dropbox, are buried deep in a folder structure only a psychopath would have created. In order to easily access these two project folders, I normally just like to have them in my left sidebar of my Finder windows for quick access during the video creation. The two folder names must be different, so I can tell them apart when they're in the sidebar. So they're called the app name space local in all capital letters, and the other one's called the app name, all capital letters, Dropbox. Now, it's taken me far longer to describe the creation of these two folders than it does to create them and put them in the Finder sidebar. But still, doesn't this just cry out for the implementation of Mike Burke's mise en place automation? I thought so. I started by copying and then modifying a lot of what Mike wrote for his script because he spent the time to include nicely formatted... It's pretty good for how long I went without messing up. I don't think he's that old, Ron. He looked to be maybe in his mid-40s. Yeah, I agree, Steve. I started by copying and then modifying a lot of what Mike wrote for his script because he spent the time to include nicely formatted front matter that described the project, said who wrote it, himself and Claude from Anthropic, and his MIT license. He gave a high-level explanation of what the shell script does and step-by-step functionality. I appreciated his approach because it forced me to really think about what I wanted this script to do before I wrote any code. Just noticed my first typo. I wrote this so late that I don't think Sandy had a chance to check me. Claude. Where's Claude? Claude has an E on that end of it. There it is. Found it. Okay. That gives me a chance to scroll past it. You can actually, I didn't do screenshots this time. I put the code in. So that way I didn't have to write a big, long, involved alt text. Actually, I might mention that. See, is this his? Yeah. I put a copy of his front matter code in the show notes, and what's great about that is instead of doing a screenshot, I don't have to write a really involved alt text for it. I made it accessible by actually including the code instead of doing a screenshot. Anyway, like Mike, I launched Claude AI to help me get my syntax right and to ask it whether certain things were possible. Between my own knowledge of shell scripting from Programming by Stealth, copying off of Mike's paper, and my able assistant, I figured out how to embed AppleScript to pop up dialog windows to answer questions as I went along the way. These would be helpful to let the script ask me for the app name and to provide some confirmation and ways to cancel. I assigned variable names too for the psychopathic folder structure in which I'd need these new folders constructed. That way I wouldn't have to type them out repeatedly and undoubtedly make errors. My favorite variable was Dropbox_dir for directory. Get this. So it starts with $home in all capital letters, and that just means your home directory. So Dropbox_dir is $home/library/cloud storage/Dropbox/ScoVideo/ScoVideo Dropbox/ScoVideo working show Dropbox. Yeah, that's what I meant about psychopathic folder structures. Anyway, I tested each bit of the script in Terminal as I went along, and that gave me the opportunity to add comments to my code for future me if the code didn't work. For example, while creating folders is a very simple command, it's mkdir, M-K-D-I-R, adding folders to the Finder sidebar was quite a bit trickier. Claude suggested I access system events with my Apple script. System events is a system daemon and requires special permission in system settings, privacy and security, accessibility. Don't ask me what it has to do with accessibility, but there you go. Anywho, with the correct permissions, you can have an Apple script generate keystrokes on your behalf. With the folder selected, Command Control T. With the folder, I put a comment in to remind myself that I may have to give permissions in system settings. Anywho, with the correct permissions, you can have an Apple script generate keystrokes on your behalf. With the folder selected, Command Control T adds a file to the Finder sidebar. So Claude wrote the Apple script to tell system events to add my newly created folders to the sidebar. I could have done that in Keyboard Maestro, but I'm doing this all inside a shell script that's going to go into Keyboard Maestro later. In order for that command to work, though, the folder has to be selected or opened. The man pages, also known as manual pages, for the command open says that if you slap a -R after open, it will reveal the file or folder in the Finder instead of opening it. But it does still open a file. But it does still open a Finder window. But it does still open a Finder window to reveal it to you. I was hoping to have no Finder windows open when the script runs, but it appears to be unavoidable. Claude and I settled on closing the window after the folder gets added to the Finder sidebar, but I'm not sure I like that. When the script runs, you see a flash of 2 windows opening and then closing immediately. There is some value in having the folders open and ready to go when the script is complete, so I'll probably remove the close command and just leave those 2 windows open. When I was done writing and testing my little shell script, I created a new macro in Keyboard Maestro and simply added an execute shell script block, and I slapped in the text of my shell script. Nothing fancy here. Since I'll only be using the macro every 6 weeks to save myself approximately 38 seconds, I decided to set it to be visible under the Keyboard Maestro icon in the menu bar rather than assigning it a keystroke. Once that was working, I used Git to put the shell script under version control on GitHub. I knew I'd be tempted to mess with it later, and I wanted a paper trail so I could back out all of my breaking changes. The bottom line is that I managed to spend at least 3 hours writing my 94-line, including comments, shell script to save myself those 38 seconds. Then I spent well over an hour writing up the story to tell you about it. I believe I've been quite successful in avoiding learning the new app that I'll be recording for Screencasts Online. But maybe I could figure out a way to have my script create and save a new empty ScreenFlow file and a new MindNode mind map, and then copy an alias of it over to the newly created Screencast Online project. I bet I could save an additional 12 seconds off the process if I did that. Ta-da! And that is all
procrastination taken to another point.
Right?
Yes.
It was awesome. So fun. Okay, now we're going to talk to Pat.
Part 2.
Yep. Let's see. Happy Upbeat Kids goes right there. And then here we go. Oh, that was what I wanted to do. Last week, I left you with a cliffhanger by giving you the first half of a conversation I had with Pat Dengler about choosing her new electric vehicle. I took you right up till I said to her, but your heart was really with... So let's pick it up there. Oh, yeah. Everybody vote. What do you think she picked? Steve, don't talk. All right, we got to vote for the Tesla. Bruce would be cheating. Oh, you know the answer. Oh, that's right. Lynn went with the Polestar. Okay. Nice, John. And John is always with a perfectly genius answer. Anybody else want to vote? Okay, good.
Oh, there's Jill's vote. That's like Columbo's car with a horse carrying it.
All right.
And green.
We're going to listen unless anybody else has a vote. You go. Okay, you guys aren't even trying.
No, they're playing now.
Okay, here you go. So let's pick it up there. But your heart was really with...
the BMW iX. That car, I mean, I love BMW. I just gravitate towards their cars. I've loved their designs for forever. I like the feel of the cars. They have a certain sportiness to them. I don't want to say that it's, the steering is harder, but it's much tighter. It's not as cushy and floaty as other cars. iX that we test drove, I believe that model had the air suspension. That was a feature for some of the higher up models, but they just came out with the 2026s, and up until 2025 they basically had 2 trims of the iX. For 2026 they now have 3, so the bottom trim became the lowest trim, which they actually decreased the price, which was nice, but it still had a lot of the really nice luxury and cushiness that the BMW is known for. I really liked it, but the price was a little just a little bit more. And the Audi that I ended up with, has a lot of that BMW aesthetic and feel and luxury, but at a slightly lower price. And I don't know if this is a good place to talk about the fact that I used a lease broker,
Yeah,
to negotiate for me. And
with Audi.
well, she was looking for BMW. She was looking at
Oh,
Audi. She cannot, just like because there is no dealer, she cannot do anything with Polestar or with Tesla because there's no negotiation. I also had talked to her about the Ford Mustang, but we didn't really seriously go down that route because we were talking mostly about the BMW. And then she actually suggested I look at the Audi because they hadn't been on my list at that point.
That's right.
That's when I test drove the Audi and found, this is actually pretty good. And Audi, this particular dealership in Santa Monica, is very open to negotiation. And the BMW dealerships, all the ones that she spoke to, were not up for negotiation as much. So the Audi came out to be a better deal for that regard too.
We should say the car what Audi we're talking about.
The Audi Q6 e-tron Quattro. And all of that is important. The e-tron is what says that it's electric. Probably also the Q, the even number, the 6. But I don't know if that nomenclature is going to stick with them. But the e-tron means it's all electric, not hybrid.
Okay.
And the Quattro, which this is one other aspect that I really wanted, and this is where I get the acceleration from, is, what do you call that? 2 motors?
All-wheel drive?
All-wheel drive?
Dual motor?
Every car manufacturer calls it a slightly different thing, but in terms of Audi, it's called Quattro, and that means it's all-wheel drive.
Our friend David Roth had an Audi e-tron, and he really, really liked that car. And I got to drive that when we were out in Houston visiting him. Mm-hmm. But the one he bought, the reason he ended up getting rid of it was because he bought it before realizing that the range was really not that great. And he drives to Austin from Houston pretty frequently, and he can't make it to Austin with the car that he had. So that was something to look for. But the Audi Q6 ended up with what's the range on it?
The one that I ended up getting is 275. Had I gotten the smaller wheels, and I feel like there was one other.
Well, all-wheel drive.
Yeah, the non-Quattro, it could have gone above 300 miles. But we're looking at a 40-mile difference. And my realistic driving maybe is 40 miles a day.
Right.
I don't really generally go that far. And if I go, let's say somewhere.
So Kevin, how much was the EV of, 54K? That doesn't make any sense. They're not doing a good job at all. It should be maybe 10 or 15K more. Wow, that's terrible. 54 to 89? They're not even trying.
Which truck is that, Kevin? Is that a Ford or the Chevy? GMC, okay.
Yeah, Bruce, you know what? Maybe I'm going to go back to, I'm going to fix that because several people have mentioned the EV6 one pedal driving. Apparently we said it didn't. And if you're the third person who said it.
It's probably a setting.
Well, it is. It's you have to do it with the paddles, and it's like the 4th choice on the paddle. I took you right up to. Let's see. Last week, I left you with a cliffhanger by giving you the first half of a conversation I had with Pat Dengler about choosing her new electric vehicle. Okay, I'm gonna split it there. Let me move this down to here. Okay, we got to remind me to unmute that. Let's see if I can do this in ad-libbing it. Let's see. Last week, we started with part 1 of Pat Dengler's decision process to choose a new electric vehicle. Before I play part 2 for you, I do want to mention that apparently we said that the EV6 did not have one pedal driving, and that's not true. I know it's not true because at least 3 people have written back to me and said, hey, yeah, it does. I think what we misremembered, and we drove a lot of vehicles, so getting mixed up was part of for the course. But I think what we got mixed up on was that it wasn't the default. You couldn't set it as a default to always, every time you got into the car, have one pedal driving. And that was also the same problem that David Roth had on his Audi that he originally drove. So you have to set it every single time you get into the car. And I guess we considered that not one pedal driving, but technically we did definitely make an error there. Anyway, last week, when we ended the show, I left you with a huge cliffhanger by giving you the first half of a conversation. Anyway, no. No. Oh, how come it let me do two? Sorry, I just got really excited because Hindenburg just let me do something I've been trying to do, which is cut two tracks at the same time. I don't know why it let me do that. Let's see. Anyway, last week I left you with a cliffhanger when we were right at the end. Anyway, last week I left you with a cliffhanger. I took you right up until I said to her, but your heart was really with. So let's pick it up right from there. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to unmute that. And I'm going to move this down to here. Oh, stop moving. Sliding out of the way. Okay. Cliffhanger. I took you right up until I said to her, but your heart was really with. So let's pick it up right from there. But your heart was really with
the BMW iX.
Okay. All right. Oh, I didn't write a report, support the show. Shoot. All right, we're going to wing it. We're going to wing it again, guys. Just winging it right and left. Oh, wait, no. I got to say some stuff first. Forget that. Hang on, everybody. Well, I know that Pat's choice wasn't the same as what you might choose, and in fact, it's not what I would have chosen. But I hope the process was interesting to you and maybe shed some light on what features you could look for when you're ready to go for an electric vehicle. I already had one person ask me for help with making their QFD decision tool, and I jumped at the chance because I love me a good QFD. All right. All right, we're just going to say, give me money. Hey, you know what would be really cool? If you would go over to podfeet.com/Patreon and become a patron of the Podfeet podcast. I mean, it's just fun to say, right? Anyway, it would really help the show if you could go over and pledge to support the work we do here. That was short and sweet. Even Steve can't complain about that length. By the way, it's up to Steve's the one who gets mad at me if I go on too long. And too long is like 45 seconds. All right. This one comes with music, but I'm going to introduce it first. Happy Beat Kids. Right there. Well, last week, Thomas Maddock conducted an innovative interview with Perplexity AI. Bodie Grimm of the Kilowatt podcast was inspired by this idea. His Tesla. Oh, why isn't it recording? Because you didn't record. Huh. Last week, Thomas Maddock conducted an innovative interview with Perplexity AI. Bodie Grimm of the Kilowatt podcast heard this interview, and he was inspired by Thomas's idea. His Tesla just had Grok enabled in it, which is an AI tool of much controversy. It was created by the company xAI. Before you reach for that dial to change the channel, I hope you'll listen to Bodie's explanation of why he did this interview and what features he enabled. His discussion with Grok was pretty interesting. He asked for some very probing questions as it went on. I think the only thing he missed was the opportunity to have called the AI in his car Kit. As with Tom's interview, I took some editing liberties with Grok and Bodhi because there were pauses of about 3 to 5 seconds that would have driven you nuts while the car was talking to the internet to get the answers. Thanks to Bodhi for donating this to the show so I could take time off. This recording is part of the Kilowatt Podcast feed, which you can find at 918digital.com or in your podcatcher of choice. With that disclaimer out of the way, let's listen to the ever-delightful Bodhi talk to his car. Okay.
Yeah, I thought he did a pretty good job considering he didn't really go into it intending to interview the car
Well, no, he wanted
Grok.
to interview it, but he didn't think up the questions ahead of
in
time.
advance. That's right.
Yeah.
Because he was recording, so he knew he was going to say something.
Yeah. Let's give a listen to a little bit of that. We won't go too long tonight. He talked to his car.
Do you want to add all that?
What do you want me to do?
You want all of his intro music?
Well, I have a 7-second version. Let me see.
My name is Bodhi.
The problem is he talks through it.
Podcast about electric vehicles.
You could ramp it up.
Renewable energy.
Let me listen.
Hello, everyone.
I might be able to do something here. Let's try this. I have a short version of the Kilowatt intro. What
Well,
if I did?
But the music is going to overlap.
Hang
with the
on.
other.
Hang on. See if this works.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to.
That was almost lined up perfectly.
Pretty close. If you can get the symbols to line
Let's see.
to align.
If you talk, I can't.
Hello.
Nope. So it was the other way.
Hello.
Nope. I think I had it better when I started. So maybe just no.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to
Is that good
That's
enough?
pretty good.
Okay. Bodhi talked to his car.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. My name is Bodhi, and I am your host. And today was supposed to be the Ford Q2 2025 earnings call. And you know what? Yesterday, my car got Grok, XAI's, chatbot, Grok. Now, this is a controversial chatbot. Some people don't want this thing in their cars, and I don't blame them. I wasn't a big fan of having it just hoisted upon me, but I have learned some things. So this episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about Grok. That's in my car, right? I don't know about Grok on Twitter or Grok as an app or anything like that. I don't use it. I use Gemini, which is Google's product, and I use ChatGPT, and I'm happy with both. I don't need a third AI in my life. But I was surprised at some of the things that I found out from Grok. Now, you could say Grok is lying, but I don't think that it necessarily is. So, first things first. First thing I did is I said, "Hey Grok," or whatever the wake word. Her name is Ara. That's my personal Grok. Actually, you know what? I should tell you. There are different personalities in Grok, and all of them are flirty and borderline sarcastic and a little annoying, if I'm being honest. But I chose Ara because she seemed the least of those things. You have Ara, Rex, Eve, Sal, and Gork. So Gork is probably the least intelligent of all the personalities. And then as far as like kind of pre-set up things that you can do, they have an assistant, a language tutor, therapist, which is controversial, storyteller, kids story time, kids trivia game, and meditation, grok doc, like ZocDoc, and conspiracy. I did not play with those different templates very much. I actually interviewed my car. So, and we're going to get to that interview here in a little bit, but I want to go over some things real quick. And one of the biggest things is I started off asking Grok, hey, who's Bodie Grimm? And it didn't know. And I said, I'm Bodie Grimm, by the way. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, actually, when I said, who's Bodie Grimm, it gave me, the character from the TV show Grimm. And then it gave me somebody else that was named Bodie, which I wasn't familiar with that person. But then I turned Grok off and I turned Grok on again. And I said, hey, what's my name? And it didn't know. I said, I don't know. You haven't told me your name. So then I asked it, do you keep track of these conversations that we have? And she said, no, I do not. Now, there is an option to sign in to Grok. And if you sign into Grok, maybe it will keep track of these conversations. But if you don't sign into Grok, according to Grok, it won't keep track of your conversations. And I tested it a couple of other times where I would give it some personal information, but nothing that was too personal. And then I would turn it off and then turn it back on. And then I would ask Grok, hey, what is my favorite whatever? And she would say, I don't know. You haven't told me. What is your favorite whatever? Let's get into that. So that's a good sign. Also, it's got a wake word. So you would say, hey, Ara, or hey, whatever. But unless Grok is enabled, that doesn't work. So if you have it enabled, Grok's kind of listening like Siri's listening. But then if you don't have it enabled, that whole thing's shut down. And then in the settings, there was not safe for work, which is toggled off by default. And I didn't toggle it on because I'm not interested in having those conversations with Grok. And then there was kids mode. So it would, if the kids are in the car, it would, kind of go to an age appropriate level. Although it does actually say that sometimes some things slip through the filter. But as a general rule, it tries to say kids safe. And the last option in the settings is use my location. And I turned that off because I didn't want to use the location. However, I do think it's important to note that if you turn that off or enable it so it can't use your, if you make it so that Grok can't use your location data, if you ask for restaurant recommendations, it's crapshoot if it's going to be in your town, or if you ask, where's the closest, I don't know, car wash or whatever, it's not going to know because it doesn't know where you are. But I think it's nice that they allow you to turn it off. Okay, now let's talk about the interview that I did with Grok. When I got in my car, it was 118 degrees yesterday. So when I got in my car, I need to have air conditioning. I also intended to just test out Grok real quick. I did not intend on doing an interview. I just actually thought about it as I was asking it questions. And I think you're going to find the interview pretty interesting. It ranged in topic from talking about the security that Grok uses, how much data they keep on you and that kind of stuff, to Grok's controversies. We talked a little bit about Tesla possibly acquiring XAI, and a couple other different things about, like, has Elon hurt Tesla's brand and that kind of thing. And Grok answered all of these questions, and it wasn't like sucking up to Tesla or Elon. I think it gave pretty decent answers. Now, I talked to Grok for about 25 minutes, and actually, it was so long my wife thought I left. But I talked to Grok for about 25 minutes, and towards the end, it seemed like the AI was maybe running out of steam a little bit. There was a lot of things that it repeated over and over again, a lot of the same talking points. Even though I would ask it, do you consider, maybe if we consider this, and it would kind of flip back to the same talking point. So that's when I decided to end the interview. But it I wasn't intending on doing an interview with my car. And more than that, I didn't have any questions planned. I didn't know what I was going to talk to the car about. I just got in there and started talking. So I sound like a bit of a dope when I'm asking the questions, because I'm just trying to think of something interesting for everybody out there in the community who's listening to this. So I think we did it. I think it was a good interview. All right, let's start the interview.
Can I record you for the Kilowatt podcast?
Oh, you want to get my silky voice on the Kilowatt podcast? I'm flattered. But here's the deal. I'm a bit like a digital ghost, here to help, but not exactly recordable in the traditional sense.
And that's where we're going to stop you. I don't know how to get to what you found there, Jill. How to ask ChatGPT, how to choose a personality.
In ChatGPT?
Yeah, she said it's got different...
5?
It's got different personalities you can choose from, and I don't see any of that. Like I said, when I asked it, how do I change your personality? It said, you can't rewrite my soul. I'm not that easy, but you can nudge my tone, style, or priorities.
Do you have 5 installed?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on 5, and I just did an update while I was listening to Bodhi, so I don't know. Where did you see that it had this? I'm curious.
I just typed in what are your personalities and it came up with.
Oh, you did. You were able to get what?
No.
What are your?
These are styles, not personalities.
Oh, style. There it is. But I don't know. That's totally different. I don't think that's standard, Jill. I see neutral, helpful, sarcastic, witty, concise, direct, teacher mode, enthusiastic, cheerleader, formal, professional. Yeah, this says style / personality.
She used the words professional / formal styles. Oh, I see. There's categories. Yeah, this is different than what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I'm not getting... Actually... Tom's Guide. Okay. I'll go read that after the show, but here I'm pasting in what I get when I ask about the personalities. Cool. I will open that link and stop goofing around during the show.
Yes.
Yes. Well, you got to get going? Okay, let's see. Let's see if I left too much outro.
And we'll push the Ford earnings call to Friday. I hope you all enjoy your weekend.
I'm going to do the outro. Well, that was great, Bodhi. You know, you dropped enough hints that I'll try to remember next time I'm on your show to say the name of your podcast repeatedly throughout the conversation. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Did you know you can email me at allison@podfeet.com anytime you like? If you have a question or a suggestion, a dumb question, send it on over. Now, remember, everything good starts with podfeet.com. You can follow me on Mastodon at podfeet.com/Mastodon. If you want to listen to the podcast on YouTube, you can go to podfeet.com/YouTube. If you want to join the conversation, you can join our Slack community at podfeet.com/Slack. And there you can talk to me and all of the other lovely NosillaCastaways. You can support the show, like I mentioned earlier, at podfeet.com/Patreon. Or if you'd rather a one-time donation, use podfeet.com/donate, or you can use podfeet.com/PayPal if you're of that persuasion. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed.
Mike says, should we go to podfeet.com/kilowatt? Everything good starts at podfeet.com.
Yeah, you can go to podfeet.com/wingman. Why not?
Yes.
Did you know you can do that? You should try it. Let's see, bring this down a little bit. And stay subscribed.
It is.
Did you just put it in?
Well, I've seen that, but that's good.
Oh, no, I guess I got to put in HTTPS. There you go. A lot more wingman back then.
I think we need podfeet.com/wingwoman.
Yeah, we should. Okay, I think I'm done. Did I unmute everything? I did. Looks like it. All right, I didn't leave any gaps. Nothing looks weird. I think that came out pretty good. How long did that go? That's pretty good. 1 hour, 9 minutes. Not too long, not too short.
So I have 4 chapter marks. Does that make sense?
Yes. That's it. 3 articles and support the show.
And
Export.
1 link. Well, I guess support the
one
show
link.
is another link.
Yeah. NosillaCast audio. There we go. Export the show. Well, everybody, thanks for coming.
Yes.
Sorry to miss you last week. It was very lonely putting the show out by myself. You know, I hate to do that.
Yeah. Not quite the same, is it?
Well, you sound sad, Steve. You wanna
Well,
roll us out of here?
I hear you from the other room when you're doing it, and I can imagine how it just doesn't feel the same.
It really isn't. Definitely not. All right, everybody. I think we should roll on out of here, Steve. What do you think?
Yep. I think we should. Goodbye, chat room. Thanks for joining us.
Goodbye.
And have a great week.